The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into a Friday edition of Running Point. Do not adjust your televisions, your computers, laptops, or whatever you may be watching this episode of Running Point on. No Anthony Hartwig today. He is vacationing down in Kansas City. He's going to see a wild one this weekend in the NFL with the Chiefs and Bills, no doubt. But we're going to cover things around the high school realm in football on another Friday Night Lights here. Week 9 already. Can you believe it? We're already winding down towards the end of the season. As advertised, we will be having Anthony Romo. He's going to be joining on here any minute, and we'll be previewing the matchups for tonight and some of the premier matchups that we're going to be seeing around Friday Night Lights. But before that, we'll wrap up some of the scores we got in the volleyball world last night real quick before we dive into our football previews. So first and foremost, Toronto taking a straight set sweep over East Palestine 3-0. Hubbard beats Boardman in a 5-set thriller 3-2. Marlington takes it to Austintown Fitch 3-0 in a straight set sweep. Crestview on the straight set win against Salem 3-0. Newton Falls and Grand Valley, another 5-set thriller that we saw that Newton Falls came on top 3-2. Western Reserve came on top of Southeast 3-2 as well. Gilmore Academy over Girard 3-0, and then of course Wyndham over Waterloo 3-2, and then we also said Sebring over Latonia 3-0 in that one. As advertised, though, we are going to have 29 football matchups that are going to be on the docket tonight, and here to preview them with me is none other than Anthony Romo, the man, the myth, the legend, best Romo in the business, as we like to call him. How we doing?
Perfect timing.
How we doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Not bad, sir. We got 29 matchups. It's already week 9, and as I was talking to the viewers too, it's unbelievable that we're already here at the end of the season, wrapping it up.
Yeah, it really is crazy. This season kind of flew by for me, especially because I wasn't able to do football every Friday. I've been tied up with a lot of Youngstown State volleyball and stuff, so I have Ursuline tonight, and this is only like the 4th or 5th Ursuline game I've been able to do this season, but luckily, I've had the chance to do Fitch week 1. I had Fitch with you against Massillon, Washington, so I found some ways to make up for some of the weeks I've missed.
Yeah, we were talking about some volleyball scores that happened last night, but of course it is Friday Night Lights, so we will be previewing 29 matchups that we're going to be having live tonight for you. And in particular order, we're going to be going with away teams numerically. It's going to be alphabetically, excuse me, not numerically, alphabetically, starting with Boardman at Austintown Fitch. And this is actually one that I'm going to be at. Romo, talking about this one, 2 teams, Division II, Region 5. Fitch is solidly in the playoffs. They're in the 4 seed, looking to get themselves that home seed for the first 2 matchups. Boardman, though, they're at 17, just on that outside looking in. This is a big matchup for Boardman, but as we say, it's a rivalry game, so records kind of don't mean as much in this matchup.
Yeah, we were talking about this Wednesday night, Steve Leslie and I with Coach Parker at Sam's Wedge Inn. This will be the 76th meeting between these 2 schools all the time. Definitely a big rivalry. A lot of the kids feel the rivalry. They know what it's all about. But like you said, Boardman right now, they're right on the cusp. And I mean, you look at their schedule. I'm looking at it right now. There are some games that we were thinking they just let slip away. You look at Warren Harding 2 weeks ago. losing 24-21. If they win that game, they may be locked into the playoffs right now. Just how that game was going back and forth. Dover, they stuck with them, couldn't finish it off, and then good luck these final 2 weeks. Fitch this week, Canfield next week. But Coach Doda, he's let his kids buy in. We talked about this a lot earlier in the season. For his kids, I believe this is their third different head coach in 4 years. So, I mean, each year you're rebuilding a new program, basically. But those Boardman kids will be ready. Like you said, Ty, it's rivalry week. You can throw all the records out the window for them, and it'll definitely be a good matchup tonight.
In your opinion, Romo, and seeing what Fitch has done well this season and seeing what Boardman and Canfield have done well this season, which team do you think Boardman fares a better chance against matchup-wise, against Cardinals or the Falcons in these next 2 weeks?
So personally, I would say that Boardman honestly matches up better with Canfield. You look back to last year, and there's no disrespect, but I believe that Canfield was a little bit stronger last year than they were this year, and Boardman almost beat them. I mean, they took the Cardinals right down to the wire, and that was another game last year. It's practically the same setup for Boardman. They were right on the outside looking in last year, couldn't take down the Cards, but I think with Fitch, they have just so many weapons. DJ Williams, Cam Smith, Deshaun Vaughn, Dan Evans, you know the list goes on, Ty. I think that from Boardman's sake of things, you don't have as much to look out for when you're playing Canfield. We just know that the Cardinals are tough. They have a tough line. Brock Lowry, it's kind of all you need. Brock Lowry, he's done such a good job. Danny Inglis, they have a lot of weapons, but I think that Boardman fares off better against Canfield than Fitch.
That'll be an interesting matchup tonight, though, of course, Spartans-Falcons. Going right into the next one, MVAC Gray Tier Championship is on the line in this one as Brookfield travels to Garrettsville-Garfield. Both these teams 7-1. Brookfield 7th in Region 21, and Garfield is 7th in Region 17. So Division 5, Division 6. You got a chance to see Brookfield. We know what Garfield brings to the table. What's kind of the keys to the game for each team you see in this one?
I would say for Brookfield, they're two big weapons, Donovan Pulowski, the quarterback, Isaiah Jones, the wideout. If they're able to connect like I saw them do against Ursuline in that first half, I think that Brookfield's one of the scariest teams in the area. And I think their schedule kind of fared out well for them. They arguably, I think it's safe to say they got their hardest game off the schedule in week 1. And playing a team like Ursuline, that not only gets you ready for the road ahead, but you see the caliber of football that you have to play up to compete in any division in the state of Ohio. So I think those two guys were definitely the guys that will stick out to me for Brookfield. And I think for Garfield, it's weird to me for Garfield. It seems like in every sport, they don't necessarily ever have one guy that sticks out. It's kind of like a South Range. They have so many guys that can hurt you in so many ways. So I think if the G-Men just play sound football, they're going to get some big points tonight. Both teams looking to move up in their region. I think if Brookfield's able to take down Garfield, they could really get some big points and jump up in D6 Region 21, though.
I think it's important to note, too, that both these teams sitting at 7th right now, and they're right on that cusp of hosting, not hosting. They can also move up into the top 4 potentially and be able to host 2 matchups. But biggest thing is conference title is on the line, and it is going to be decided tonight. It's going to be whoever wins walks away with it. So a big one happening tonight in Garrettsville-Garfield. Boxcast taking care of it. YSN will have a link for you. Campbell Memorial, though, coming off of a huge win, an upset win against Champion now. They're 2-6. They're traveling to the 2-6 Newton Falls Tigers. Both these teams in Region 21, both on the outside looking in. Camel at 20th, Newton Falls at 24th. But this all of a sudden becomes a big game for Camel, who have Newton Falls and LeBray to finish out the season. Can the Red Devils make a late run for a playoff spot?
I mean, wouldn't that be something? Camel, like you said, such a big win last week. And even if they don't make the playoffs, you have a huge opportunity to win 3 consecutive games to end your 2022 season. That's so much momentum for them heading into next year. I cannot get my throat cleared. I'm sorry. And for Newton Falls, I think the same way. You're sitting 24th right now in your region, so you may not necessarily grab a playoff spot, but this is a very winnable game for your program. And, I mean, everyone knows week in, week out, it doesn't matter the roster you put on the field in Northeast Ohio. A win is a win, and it takes a lot of preparation for anyone to win a game in any week.
Coach King doing a great job over there with the Red Devils, as like you said, they look to win their second consecutive game tonight. Cleveland Central Catholic from Division 4 Region 14, but they're 22nd in that as they're 0-8. They're going to be traveling to JFK, which is actually going to be at Liberty, who are 6-1 on the season. They're first in Region 7, Division 20 or Region 25, Division 7, and I don't think we got to spend much time on this one. This is a mismatch. JFK looks primed to win it, even though they're playing up 3 divisions. This is kind of JFK's bread and butter game. This is what they look for in computer points.
Yeah, JFK, they found a way this year with their scheduling they could double the entire region in points. They have so many points right now. And I think anytime you play a team a division up, it doesn't matter their record. You're arguably going to be playing a team with more bodies than you, more depth on the field. So I think this is really just a tune-up game for JFK going into next week and then hopefully going into a long playoff run.
Columbiana getting Bob Spade's historic win. They're going to wait no longer to try to get one over that, as they're going to be traveling to Latonia to take on the 0-8 Bears, as Latonia, though, still coming in every week, still producing a football team. And hey, if one thing is for sure, you're going to get better by playing this competition, and it's going to be a good experience for these younger kids.
Yeah, definitely for Latonia's sake. I always wonder, because I come from Hubbard, and I come from a lot of my friends obviously played in a program that year in, year out is one of the best in the Valley, and they're always winning games. And like you with Fitch, I always try to put myself into the mindset of teams that don't win many games, because you think about it, they started the season the same day every other school started in the state of Ohio in early July, and they practice those 2 days. They go all the way through, and they're still practicing hard every day of every week. So coming into tonight, you never know. Latonia, they could pull off an upset any week. Like I said, it's hard to win a game here in the state of Ohio.
Any given Friday is not just a punchline, right? There's some truth and meaning behind it. Crestview goes to Champion in an interesting battle, I'd say. Region 21, 22nd overall. Crestview taking Region 17, 17th overall Champion. Champion on the outside looking in that Division 5 after that loss that they suffered to Camel. This is a big game for Champion, but not an easy one at all. Despite the record, Crestview, not a pushover team.
Yeah, I was actually really surprised. Like I said, I've honestly been out of the loop all football season because I've just been all over the place. And I was so surprised when I was watching the Power Hour the other day. DJ and Richie were analyzing the region points for each of our Valley schools. And I saw Crestview, they only have 2 wins, right? They have 3. I was like, man, because I thought that was going to be a team to beat in the Valley after week 1, when they took Salem down to the wire. So, I mean, I think that team has the firepower to take down this Champion team. But like you said, for Champion, from here on out, it's must-win football if you want to sneak into the playoffs.
For sure. It's going to be an interesting one. Again, live on YSN tonight. You could catch that one. Next one, it's your game, Ant, and we'll let you talk about it a little bit as East travels to Ursuline, and as the Irish look to get another win on the docket, too, to round out their season.
Yeah, Ursuline, this is their first of 2 home games to finish off the regular season. They have East this week and then Mooney next week. So definitely 2 big Steel Valley Conference matchups for the Irish. It'll be interesting to see. DC Farrell stepped into that quarterback position last week after Jack Erickson was unable to play. And all he did was run the ball 13 times for, I think, 247 yards against a Bill Angeles St. Joe's team that was 5 or 6-1 on the season coming into it. So the Irish, I think this is kind of cliche every year. They're hitting their stride at the right time. What do you know? An Ursuline team that's playing good football late in the regular season. But I think for East, we talked about this with Coach Reardon. East hasn't had the season that they've wanted, but they have athletes. There's a lot of East kids, and we've seen East through the years. They have upset a lot of good teams late in the regular season when teams are kind of overlooking them. So it'll definitely be a good game tonight at Stambaugh Stadium. Steel Valley Conference implications really on the line for Ursuline. Got to win this week and next week to win outright for the conference.
And the interesting thing about the Irish, too, and one thing I feel like not a whole lot of people are talking about, the Irish have not played a bad game this season. They've had a bad half of football. Yeah. They've had 1 bad half of football against Fitch. Other than that, even in that loss against St. Vincent St. Mary's, they played a solid 4 quarters of football. And despite those 2 losses, Ursuline, like you said, and they're hitting their stride at the right time. And no matter who it is, Erickson or Farrell behind center, they're going to be athletic and they're going to be dangerous.
And I'll say this because you probably know this better than anyone else on this network, Ty. We talk about that St. V's game. Ysn hung with them, and then just at the end, they came up a little bit too short. You go to last week, the next game for St. V's, they play Hoban in the Akron Holy War. That game was tied at 0 at halftime. And I watched some highlights, and St. V's had about 3 fumbles inside the Hoban red zone, and they could have arguably been up 21-0 at halftime against Hoban. And of course, Lamar Sperling turned into Lamar Sperling in the second half, and Hoban was able to run away with it. But that just goes back to the caliber of scheduling that teams like Ysn and Fitch have every year that gets them ready for playoff time.
No doubt, no doubt. It's going to be another Steel Valley Conference matchup for the Irish tonight. East Palestine will travel to Southern. It's going to be a bit of a mismatch, and we know that the Indians are going to be a little bit mad after that loss against Valley, and it's at the Wigwam, so it's kind of a perfect storm for Southern right now.
Yeah, I definitely say that Southern's going to come into this game with a chip on their shoulder after how last week went. But if I'm East Palestine, I'd honestly try to jump on them early because I'm sure that was a game that everyone on YSN was watching last week, probably except you because your game didn't end until about 2:30 in the morning last week at Wadsworth. But that was a really physical game against Valley. So those Southern kids may still be a little bit sore. Obviously, they have the edge on paper, but watch out for East Palestine. They may jump out early and try to take advantage of Southern early on their home field.
Yeah, I mean, keep and stick to the game plan, too. If you keep it on the ground, you might start seeing that those linemen might start slowing down a little bit, too. And for Southern right now, they're 6th in Region 25 for Division 7. So Southern looking to keep themselves hosting, at least in that first round. We're going to have the 440 and Goal Boys on the network tonight with the Fairport Harbor Harding taking on St. John and the Fighting Heralds. Both these teams are, Harding's 2-6, the Fighting Heralds 2-5. Both in Region 25. Harding is 21st. The Heralds are 24th. And actually, an interesting one in this one, Ant. I don't actually think we see this too much. A home and away matchup scheduled for these two teams. So Fairport going to St. John this week. St. John going to Fairport in Week 10 for a home and away to end the season.
Yeah, these two teams are going to be really familiar with each other, that's for sure, at the conclusion of next week's ball game. But I think this is another thing I think that's really unique with COVID, because I feel like before COVID happened, we would never see something like this. But I feel like COVID has actually opened up a lot of doors for teams, because you go back to 2020, some teams play each other like 3 times during the season just because they were trying to fill games. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that COVID has anything to do with this, but I think before 2020, we would honestly never see something like this in back-to-back weeks.
I'm curious on what the game plan looks like because, as I said, both these teams just on the outside looking in still have a chance to get into the playoffs. Well, how much do you show in 1 week compared to next one? You got to play them back-to-back. Interesting strategies definitely for the coaches heading into this one.
Yeah, I would definitely say that the game plans and film on Monday next week will be really interesting for both sides because it's not like you're recapping last week's game. You're also preparing. So you have a whole week of preparation basically for the week coming up. And I would love to see next week will probably be a bloodbath between both schools because like you said, how much do you let out of the playbook in this week? Because the other team's definitely going to be prepared for what they're going to see next week.
Going to be interesting as well. This matchup certainly has become more interesting as the weeks have gone on as Girard with a 6-2 record goes to Struthers 4-4. Both these teams in Region 13. Girard at 2nd, Struthers at 16th. But the Wildcats have put together a late season push to get themselves situated in a playoff position.
Yeah, Struthers has been one of the hottest teams in the Valley as of late. Excuse me, I'm trying to pull up Joe Itel right now. So you look at they're on a 3-game winning streak right now. And you look at their record tie. This Struthers team, so open up with a win at St. Thomas Aquinas, fall to Geneva, that's respectable. Lose to Streetsboro in overtime, so they could have won that game. They could be 2-1. Lose to South Range by 10, and that's a game where South Range turned the ball over 6 times from what DJ said. Next week, you go to Hubbard, lose 21-14 in overtime, and then you win your next 3. Watch out for this team. They're sitting 16th in the region right now. And I'm looking at it. They're sitting with 7 points right now. So if they were able to take down this Girard, they played Girard today, right?
Yes, sir.
If they were able to take down Girard this week and possibly Poland next week, you go from 16 to 11 in the Region 13 rankings, and all those schools are separated by 2 points. So Struthers could really do some jumping if they get some marbles to fall their way.
in this matchup too, because you also see Girard just out of the number 1 spot with West Branch. Who do you think needs this particular game more?
I would say that Struthers needs this game more, and here's why. So you look at Girard, they're sitting second in Region 13. They have a little bit of cushion on Northwest, who's right under them. And if the playoffs started today, Girard would play Hubbard. That's a team that they annihilated last week, 49-14. And you look at Struthers' perspective, if they're able to get a win and hop at least Hubbard, these teams could play each other again. So Struthers could play a team that they've already beat. And I think if Struthers... Okay, and it's weird. Region 13 is weird because it's basically Struthers is honestly locked up a playoff spot, even though they're sitting 16th, because they have 7 points and Ravenna is 17th and they only have 4.
There's a bit of a gap, yeah, and they would have to, for Struthers to fall, they would have to pretty much lose out, and Ravenna would need to get some wins, I would think, to try to make up some ground. But for this one, Struthers, if they really want to lock up a spot, they really need a win in the next 2 weeks. One more win would do it. 5-5 looks a lot better, I think, going into a playoff bid for sure. But for this one, Girard, I think they proved to everyone, despite the injuries to Bengala, they showed that they were still a football team that can beat up on some quality football teams, and they did that last week. Absolutely put it on and got a huge victory to keep themselves still atop in those computer rankings for sure.
Yeah, I think that Girard, that was a big win for themselves in the NE8. Just to say, Hubbard and Girard, since the NE8 began in 2019, those two teams have went back and forth and back and forth. 2019, Girard beats Hubbard. It was my first year announcing football on Ysn. It was at Hubbard my senior year. Girard kicked like a 40-yard field goal with no time left to beat Hubbard. 2020, Hubbard goes to Girard and lays it down on the Indians, beat him by 2 or 3 scores. 2021 last year, Hubbard takes down Girard in week 9 on senior night. And then this year, Girard returns a favor. So those two teams, since this conference began, have been kind of deadlocked.
Yeah, for sure. And this is going to be no easy task. Struthers also has Poland in week 10. Hallen goes to Canfield, and even though the AAC doesn't technically exist in the football realm, still I guess you could say semi-conference matchup, as the Tigers, who are 2-6, take on the 6-1 Canfield Cardinals. And Cardinals, I mean, this is a mismatch. This is at home for Canfield. They're looking to sharpen their teeth, but we've seen a Hallen team like last year. They almost surprised West Branch. They're the type of team where you can't sleep on them.
Yeah, I was able to see Howland earlier on this year. I went to the game when they played Hubbard because Ursuline played Farrell that week, and then it got moved to Saturday, so I was without a game on that Friday night. And Howland's running back, Marco Masucci, is a very strong running back. It seems like every year Howland just brings some really good running back to the table. You remember they had Babinchak, I think that's how you say his name, a few years ago. He ran for like 700 yards in week 10 in 2020. And then, last year was Woomer, I want to say.
I believe so. Yeah, it was Woomer.
And then Masucci this year. So Howland always finds a way to bring a good running back to the table. And Canfield's definitely going to have to play their best game tonight to take down the Tigers.
Yeah, as Canfield, like we said, looking to prime themselves before playoff time, as they are second in Region 9. Howland 25th on the outside, looking in the same region in Division 3. Another similar region, similar conference as well, similar record. Jefferson 5-3 going to Poland, who is 5-3. Jefferson is 8th. Poland is 5th in Region 13 inside of Division 4. Can't get much bigger than this. No, a conference title might not be on the line, Ant, but this is still big for playoff positioning. Both these teams slated to host as of right now, but that could change if they drop this one.
Yeah, Jefferson's kind of been slumping a bit as of late. I think this game is way bigger for the Falcons than it is for Poland because these two teams have played each other since the AAC. They were both in the AAC. But I think since the NE8 started, this is Jefferson's best chance at taking down Poland. So I think that they would really want to take advantage here tonight because they have not beat the Bulldogs since the NE8 started. But how about Poland? This has been one of the best stories in the Valley this year. They play a very tough schedule to start the year, and everyone kind of counted them out. They get smoked by Cheney 35-2. they get beat pretty bad by Canfield, and everyone's kind of like, I don't know. But you go back to week 4, they take down Hubbard. They intercept the Eagles in the end zone with like no time left on the clock. Win that game, and then it's been a steamroll ever since for Poland. So hats off to Coach Pavlansky and that ball club. They're definitely clicking at the right time.
In your opinion, we've seen what the Falcons do offensively. We've seen what the Bulldogs do offensively. We both know that they're both solid defensive teams. They put up good fronts. What's kind of your key to the game for a win for each team?
I think for Jefferson, just find a way to get the ball in Grant Hitchcock's hands. Keep the ball in his hands as much as you can, because he is one of the best players up in that area in Northeast Ohio. He's performed for the last few years for Jefferson. He's kept them in a lot of ball games. And then you look at Poland. It's kind of cliche again every year. The Bulldogs just keep running the ball. They always have good running backs. They'll pound the ball down your throat the entire game if they want to. So I think for Poland, obviously control the trenches and then let your running game do its thing. It's going to be a little bit cold tonight, I'd imagine, once the sun sets. So it'll be a game that's probably won with the running game.
Going to be an interesting one indeed. Anthony Malone going to be on the call for that one. Always a great call when Malone's behind it, for sure. As we go into the next one, Cleveland, John Hay travels to Beaver Local. And the Hornets, John Hay Hornets, are a Division II Region 5. They're 8th in that region. Beaver Local is 6th in Division 4 Region 13. Huge chance for Beaver Local to pick up some major computer points as they're they're hosting, John Hay. But I will say, in this one, the 7-1 John Hay Hornets, we look at their wins, though, Romo, against 0-8 Cleveland Central Catholic, 0-8 Orange, a 7-6 win against 3-4 Rhodes, a 48-6 win against 2-5 John Adams, 40-0 against East Technical, and then a 21-18 win against John Marshall, a 4-4 team. That's the best looking win that they have on their schedule this season.
Yeah, so basically, without saying it right there, you're saying that Beaver Local has probably seen a tougher schedule this year, just on paper, but obviously this game's going to be won on the field tonight. It's never won on paper. But this is a huge game for Beaver Local. You look at the computer rankings, and isn't this fun later in the year? It gives us so much more to talk about when playoff pictures really into play. So Beaver Local is sitting at 11.9 computer points. They're in 6th. Canton South's in 7th with 11.8. So Beaver Local is hanging on by a thread right now. I think that they're honestly going to have to win out, and they play a very tough Wheeling Central Catholic team next week. I think that they'll arguably have to win out to secure that number 6 spot, because Canton South has 2 very winnable games coming up here.
Considering, too, that win against John Marshall was a Division I team, a 4-4 John Marshall team. This is still a 7-1 team, John Hay, and their wins come up against a lot of D2, D3, and even a D1 team. So major computer points on the line for Beaver Local if they could pull off this victory.
Yeah, and John Hay, they have definitely shown, being a Division II team, that they can compete with teams not only their size, but teams that are bigger than them as well. Skill is obviously the biggest thing that wins you ball games, but I think depth at the high school football level is huge. The more guys you have, especially come playoff time, that you can kind of rotate in and out on the field, those are the teams that make it the farthest in the playoffs.
We'll look at one more game before we head into our first break as we stay in Region 5, Division 2, Lakeside. Sitting at 14th, the Dragons will travel to Orange to take on the Lions. Orange without a win on the season, so kind of a mismatch in this case. Dragons, though, looking to get themselves inched up into those playoffs rankings because, 14th, that's definitely not a safe spot for Lakeside.
Yeah, Lakeside right now, they're sitting at 14th, and they're playing a team with 0 wins. So you may not get the most computer points from a win tonight, but I think you want to look really good because Cleveland Rhodes is sitting right behind them. They play Lutheran West, who's 3-4, and if they win tonight, they could honestly hop them, and then that would set up a matchup between Riverside and Lakeside, and we know how tough Riverside is. So Lakeside, just take care of business tonight. Try to take care of business next week and secure that spot. We talk about all these things that have to happen in these games, but to control your own destiny, you just got to win and let everything else play itself out.
Should be interesting tonight as we go into one of our first breaks on Running Point. We'll come back with some more football previews of the 29 matchups that we have on the network tonight on ysnlive.com.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
As fine as the eye can see, the finest hardwoods from the finest trees. Made for your home and within your means, Baird Brothers will help fulfill your dreams. Let life and light come shining through in quiet morns. And heavy traffic, too. Find your easy-to-afford fine hardwood floors and doors and more at BairdBrothers.com.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Welcome back, everybody, here on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Ty Bartell alongside Anthony Romo as we continue our previews here in this first hour of tonight's football matchups. Got through 14 of them in that first half hour as we have another 15 on the docket tonight. We'll start off inside the MVAC Scarlet Division as Western Reserve with a 2-6 record travels to Sebring 0-8 to take on the Trojans. Reserve still looking for a playoff spot after grabbing some wins. They're at 19th in Region 25. So Blue Devils have something to play for tonight.
Yeah, the Blue Devils definitely have something to play for. There are honestly a lot of teams, or a lot of games, I think, on the network tonight that'll be very interesting. A lot of teams match up against each other very well. So definitely should be a great night. If you can't tune in any of the games, definitely tune into the Audible Call.
Yeah, no doubt, as we will also have Luke Henning from the Blue Devils on the show later today at 1:10. Lakeview 3-5. They're 18th in Region 17. That's Division 5. So they're on the outside looking in. They're going to be going to South Range, though. 8-0 Raiders, who are number 1 in that same region. So not an easy task, but on the bright side, if Lakeview is able to pull off the upset win, that would mean major computer points for the Bulldogs, certainly.
Yeah, this is not an easy game for Lakeview, to say the least, here tonight. And I think that you're setting yourself up for a very tough Week 11 if you can win tonight, because arguably they'll move into 16 and then they'll have to play South Range again in the first round of the playoffs. So it's a tough game for Lakeview, but I think that program is still trying to just build experience under head coach Bellino. It's only a second year at the helm. They didn't win a single game last year, so this year's obviously a big success. But I think against the really good teams in the NE8 this year, you're just trying to gain experience, learn what these teams do, so then come next year, you're really going to be prepared and try to take another next step for this program.
Liberty is on a 3-game winning streak, and they've actually situated themselves in the 16th spot in Division 5, Region 17, as the Leopards travel to winless LeBray tonight. But I tell you what, the Vikings in recent weeks have shown that they can be competitive, at least for some halves as well. Not going to be an easy one, but one that Liberty needs to win if they want to keep themselves in the playoff hunt.
Yeah, I think this year has been the toughest, has had to be the toughest on the program for LeBray, because you look back to last year, that was one of the toughest teams in the Valley. They were pretty much one play away from making it to the regional final against Springfield, which would have been a really cool Valley against Valley regional final. They came up just short against Mogador in the regional semis. But I think for Liberty, that's another team that it's like they came out of nowhere. It's like Poland. They started off the year really tough, lost some games that everyone thought they were going to win. But here they are right now trying to set themselves up for a playoff berth, which is kind of crazy looking at the team they had last year, which is arguably stronger than the one they had this year. That team, I believe, wasn't able to make the playoffs, but this one really has a chance too, and they're in good position.
Definitely, Leopards are trying to get themselves into the playoffs. Interesting matchup tonight, again, on ysnlive.com. Lisbon Blue Devils go to another Blue Devil in Region 25. They're in the playoff hunt as well, sitting at the 11th spot. They travel to United in Division 6, and they're in the 10th spot in Division 6, Region 21. United, it's a conference matchup in the EOAC. United really can't win the conference without a ton of help right now, but they could still try to take care of business and get themselves ready for the playoffs. And it's a Lisbon team that's competitive, and it's going to be a team that they can do that against.
Yeah, these are two really competitive teams, like you said. And at this point, these two teams are clawing for playoff position in their respective divisions right now. So I think these are big tune-up games. They've pretty much kind of secured a spot in the playoffs. But I think anything under the 8 seed, you're in some dangerous territory of having to go play some really tough teams to start off the playoffs. I honestly, personally, 2020, I liked that playoff format a little bit more, where it was 1 through 12, and then the top 4 seeds got a bye. Because
something like that,
we always talk about like the OHSA trying to be a money grab and add an extra round to get more money. But I mean, statistically, you look at these last 2 years, you're not going to see a lot of 16 seeds beating 1 seeds and so on and so forth. So I think that once you get under that 8 seed, and which was the traditional format, you're kind of in some tough territory with any team you play in the playoffs.
The problem was, though, and what Anthony and Hartwig and I have talked about, the fact that they had that 1-16 team beat that 1 seed last year.
That's all they needed to see.
Yep. That's all they're going to need to push the fact that, hey, it's possible. So they're going to keep pushing it. Certainly going to be interesting going forward. Here's another interesting one as another conference title on the line. It's actually the other side of the MVAC. Lowville travels to Mineral Ridge, and the Rams have a chance to prove some people wrong who had some initial thoughts about them. So does Lowville. These are kind of two teams in the same boat that have been really trying to get respect all season, and they've put out some big wins one after another. Lowville not getting respect just because of maybe the teams that they've played along the way. Ridge not getting respect because of that loss to Springfield. It's interesting to see, but the conference title is on the line, and these are two really good football teams.
Yeah, like you said, these are two very good football teams. Mineral Ridge has kind of been a team that has popped out to everyone in the Valley. I don't know if anyone really expected the Rams to have this season that they're currently having. And on the side for Lowville, I think you just have to keep taking care of business. But, of course, no one wants to lose. And this may push some people the wrong way, but just get what I'm trying to say here. If Lowville were to lose to Mineral Ridge tonight, I think that could arguably help them out more than going 10-0 in the regular season, because a lot of good teams get a wake-up call in the regular season. If you have one loss, you'd rather lose your first game in the regular season than in the playoffs. And I think if you lose to a very competitive Mineral Ridge team, that could really get Lowville's minds right and could really get them ready for a playoff run that they're hoping to have.
At the very least, if they could at least see that they're human too, even if Mineral Ridge pushes Lowville too, that could be beneficial. But I get exactly what you're saying. Beyond that, though, Region 25, Division 7, Lowville sitting in the 3rd seed in that one. Ridge is in the 9 seed in Division 6, Region 21, so they're trying to get into the top 8 to at least host. Beyond this, conference championship is on the line, and this is also a battle between two very good, very talented quarterbacks. We already know what Vinny Ballone's doing. He's the record breaker. I mean, he's Captain Swag, but I tell you what, Tristan Valley, too, he's kind of bursted on the scene, and he is that dog as well, man. He's showing everyone he can play that QB position, and he can play it pretty well.
Yeah, definitely. Valley made the transfer over to Mineral Ridge, and he has really done a good job at the helm of the Rams this year. And I think it's funny because we talk about playoffs throughout this show, but if you talk to any coach in the Valley, they'd rather win that conference title first before they talk about playoffs.
No doubt. No doubt. It's going to be a big one tonight. Both MVAC championships on the line. Lowville and Ridge goes to Mineral Ridge tonight. Matthews, 7-1 on the season. They're sitting at 8th in Division 7, Region 21. They'll be traveling to Wyndham to take on the Bombers, who are sitting at 16th in the same region. Wyndham trying to stay in playoff positioning. Matthews trying to stay as a host for a playoff game, as the Mustangs' one loss only coming to Edison and the Wildcats on the season.
Yeah, Matthews and head coach Bill Bourne, that's a team that they just always find a way. They're never really one of the flashiest teams around here, but they always find a way to win. But for Wyndham tonight, like you said, they're trying to stay in playoff positioning, so you definitely want to win this game here tonight. You'd get a lot of points from it. And on the other hand, for Matthews, like you said, you want to keep hosting that home game.
It's going to be interesting for sure, as Wyndham's, they were able to battle through some injury issues at the beginning of this season. They were able to rattle off some wins and get themselves back into the playoff hunt. Should be an interesting game tonight. Niles, they've had also some injury bugs that have hit them this season. They've been struggling through it, but they've been battling through and been competitive at points. They are 2-6 on the season, going to take on 5-3 Hubbard and the Eagles. Both these teams in Region 13, Division 4. Niles at 19th, Hubbard at 15th. So a battle for both these teams trying to just get to the playoffs.
Yeah, Hubbard is in a very tricky situation right now, sitting at 15th. Of course, you want to win out and try to get out of that 15 or 16 hole, because you don't want to play Girard again, obviously, because they saw how tough the Indians are. And then if you drop down, you don't want to play West Branch, because yet again, we've seen on numerous occasions how tough the Warriors are this year. I think for Niles, they're always a team that's going to play tough. I look back to when they faced off against Hubbard last year in Week 9. The Eagles were 9-0, and everyone was just waiting. Everyone's saying we're 1 week away from Hubbard against South Range. And Antoine Gardner for Niles took the first play like 86 yards for a touchdown, and that kind of woke the Eagles up. So you know that the Red Dragons are going to be ready to play, and these two programs have played in some very big games over the years, so the fans know just how much this game means to both teams.
It's NE8 football, so you expect it to be rough and tough and a hard-hitting affair. Both these teams need a win. Should be interesting. Eagles and Red Dragons tonight. Notre Dame Cathedral Latin in Region 9, ranked 21st, goes to Louisville, also in Region 9, ranked 18th. So a couple of teams, 2-6. Both these teams are both looking to get into the playoffs in Division 3. Louisville, though, coming up with some big wins in recent weeks, too. That win against Green was one, I think, that surprised some people.
Yeah, Louisville, they're in an interesting situation. Like you said, they've come up with some big wins, and the games that they've lost have been against some really good teams. So like DJ was saying on the Power Hour the other day, this Louisville team, if they're able to sneak into the playoffs, they're not going to be scared of anyone they play, because everyone they've played this year has been a very tough team. And then NDCL, it's one of those weird teams to me, because NDCL is always playing one of our teams either in a big playoff game or a game where either team has an opportunity to make the playoffs. So Notre Dame Cathedral Latin, of course, looking to take down Louisville and try to sneak into the playoffs at the end of the year.
Never a pushover team either, NDCL. You always got to be prepared for them, certainly. Oak Glen from West Virginia, I should say, Division 4 team, 2-5 on the season. They're going to be taking on the East Liverpool Potters, who are 1-7 on the season, as they travel to East Liverpool to take on them, as Potters look for their second win of the year.
Yeah, East Liverpool is definitely, they've had an underwhelming season, I think it's safe to say, but tonight's a great opportunity to try to get a win against a very good team that's coming across state lines. You're not only representing your school, but you're kind of representing the state of Ohio in this ball game. You definitely want to put on a good performance and grab a win tonight.
Salem suffers another close defeat on the season after last week against Carrollton. They're going to be taking their 5-3 record to Marlington, as the Dukes also on a struggling point in the season, 1-7 on the year. Salem 9th in Region 13. Marlington 27th in Region 9, likely out of it for the Dukes, but for the Quakers, they're trying to get back into position to host a playoff game. They need this win.
Yeah, Salem needs this win bad. They need to win out, really. They have another really big game, obviously, next week, a huge rivalry game. The Quakers are another team that is kind of going against what I was saying. Salem could pretty much be ranked anywhere in their region, and the Quakers are always a very tough out in the playoffs. You look 2 years ago against Poland. I called their game against Poland. They were up 21-0 in the second quarter against a Poland team that everyone thought was going to walk over them. The Bulldogs ended up coming back, winning that game. And then you look at their game against Ysn last year. Salem was up like 21-20 or 28-27 or something in the second quarter. And then Ysn kind of turned it up. So Salem, that's a team that is very well coached. And I think that they need a win here tonight and then try to settle things next week heading into the playoffs.
As long as you got that man Jackson Johnson behind center, he's the great equalizer, certainly, for the Quakers. Springfield is on the up and up too. 4-4 record now. The Tigers are, after suffering 4 straight defeats, they've gotten 4 straight wins now, gotten themselves to 10th in Division 7, Region 25. They take on a tough Jackson Milton team, though, in Region 21. They're 14th, 6-2 record, though, the Blue Jays are this season, looking to get themselves one of the better records in Jackson Milton history.
Yeah, this is definitely a huge game for Jackson Milton tonight. It's another team in the MVAC that has not had their way, as someone wants us to buy viewers, followers, and primes on Twitch right now.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
We're just going to talk some football right now. But anyways, Jackson Milton's another one of those teams in the MVAC on the football side of things that Springfield's kind of had their number as of late. So Springfield's definitely getting everyone's best number this year on the football field. But the Tigers, I'm really excited for them come playoff time because they faced a gauntlet coming out of the gate. And of course, you want to finish the regular season strong. And then I think with them dropping a division down to Division 7, a lot of kids on their team, they lost a lot of key players from last year, of course. Bo Brungard, Bo Snyder, the list goes on, a lot of linemen. But a lot of the guys that are returning, like Shondell Gardner, who played a big role on last year's team, they have a lot of playoff experience, and they're not scared of any stage.
Yeah, their 2 losses this season, though, were against competitive teams such as Lowville and Mineral Ridge, and they lost by 30-plus points in both those games. So trying to play for some respect, and they have a chance to do that against one of the most respected teams in the conference. They're also coming off of a 7-0 win against Waterloo, and that was a defensive grudge match throughout the season. But that's another thing that the Blue Jays have proven is they can win in multiple venues and multiple types of games. That was a big win that the defense carried the weight on. You're going to need defense, but you're certainly going to need more than 7 points against the Tigers, you figure, if you want to come out victorious in that one.
Yeah, of course. And like you said, Jackson Milton, arguably their 2 biggest games this year, they kind of laid eggs on the field. So this is a big chance for them to play a very good game against a very good team. Like you said, earn some respect. This is a Jackson Milton team that's having one of their best seasons in program history. And this would really solidify that mark tonight.
No doubt. Valley Christian, 8-0 on the season, look like they're a lock for the EOAC championship. They can officially lock it all up tonight if they can get a victory against the Wellsville Tigers, 3-5 on the season. But Wellsville right now, they're 17th in Region 25, Division 7. So they're just on the outside looking in. Valley is 3rd in Division 6, Region 21. But Wellsville looking to get into the playoffs. Valley looking to make sure they get that lock and key and, well, get that key to the lock and throw the key away for the EOAC championship.
Yeah, Valley Christian, that's another team that has had a remarkable season under Coach Hake. And if they can just take care of business tonight, they can lock up that conference title. And that's another team that'll be very scary come playoff time. They're kind of one of those teams that are in a tough situation in their region because South Range felt the brunt of Kirtland for the last how many years, and now Valley Christian's going to be tasked with having to beat them in the playoffs probably if they want to make it to the regional final. But Wellsville, like you said, a win tonight would probably lock them in a playoff spot because they get so many points from beating a team like Valley.
For sure, that's a big win for Valley if they can get it, and they'll also get the conference championship if they do as well. This one a lot more interesting than maybe the records say. And Warren Harding 2-6 travels to 7-1 Cheney at Rain Stadium, and this is a big game. And anytime these two teams match up, it's always athleticism, I think, kicked up to 11.
Yeah, definitely. Harding has played a tough schedule per usual this season, and they haven't been able to come out on top in a lot of the games, which is shown obviously with their record right now. But like you said, Dallas Jets, one of the best athletes in Northeast Ohio, and then Cheney. I mean, everyone knows what they bring to the table. Coach Antrim and his squad are definitely trying to tune up a big victory tonight against a very respectable Harding program that year in, year out they're gonna play you tough. So Cheney definitely needs, I think, to win a game like this tonight, get some more stuff on film, and then head into next week.
Another game that's going to be determining who's going to get to the playoffs or have big playoff implications. Waterloo sitting at 21st in Region 21, 3-5 on the season. Travels to McDonald in Region 25. They're 23rd in their Region 2-6. Both these teams really need a win if they want to get themselves into a playoff kind of picture for Week 10. Big game, though. Definitely on the docket inside the MVAC Scarlet Division.
Yeah, this is a huge game for both programs. I think Waterloo will have the edge coming into tonight just by looking at their record. And I think this game, in a way, means more to them than it does McDonald. Of course, both teams want to win this game, but Waterloo is trying to really get a big win heading into Week 10. So I think that Waterloo, just looking at paper, I think they're the stronger team coming in tonight. But like McDonald, they always find a way to play teams tough.
Yeah, no doubt. And for Waterloo, not an easy task in Week 10 against Mineral Ridge. So you need all the wins that you can get prior to Week 10. Should be an interesting matchup with the Blue Devils tonight in the conference. West Branch and Carrollton also going at each other tonight in a conference battle inside the EBC. West Branch, we talked about them. They're first in Region 13. They're top dog. They're taking on Carrollton, coming off a big win against the Quakers, who Carrollton in Division 4, Region 15, they're number 10 in that one.
Yeah, this EBC, there's never one team that kind of sticks out among the rest. All these teams are going to play each other tough. Like you said, Carrollton coming off a big win against Salem. They're looking for another big win this week. Obviously, West Branch is really looking to solidify their number one spot in the region with the victory here tonight.
Would be a huge win for the Warriors if they can get it too, as like you said, and they would pretty much solidify themselves as conference champions. Another big matchup that's going to be happening on Saturday in the afternoon time. Steubenville comes into town as they're going to be taking on Cardinal Mooney at Mineral Ridge, as Steubenville in Division 4, Region 15. We just talked about them. Same one with Carrollton. They're actually first in that region. Cardinal Mooney is 11th in Region 17, coming off of their big win against Warren Harding. It's a big chance for Cardinal Mooney, though, to really get themselves a lot of respect and another big win right before the tournament. Steubenville, always a perennial powerhouse in the playoff time and always a threat to make a state title run.
Yeah, we talk about history, and these two programs are arguably two of the most historic programs in the state of Ohio. Just like I was saying with Hubbard and Niles, these two teams have played a lot of big games over the years against each other. And I think you look at a respectable opponent for both of them. They both played against Lindsley. Lindsley took down Mooney 28-14, and they took down Steubenville 28-27. So that game right there might show both these teams how close they are skill-wise to each other. And Mooney, we've talked about this a lot. A lot of us have talked about this, I'll say behind the scenes. If Mooney, you know what? I'll save it for the playoffs. Just say that I think Mooney is one of those underdogs in Division 5 in this region, and getting a win against a Steubenville team tonight would not only bolster their resume heading into the playoffs, but they could take a big jump up the standings.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if Mooney can host, that's obviously the dream. But I've been talking about with Anthony Hartwig too on the show, Romo, about Mooney all season. And I kind of said prior to the season, Mooney is always, you never know when Mooney's going to be that team again. They're always just a year away from becoming that team again. And if Mooney doesn't end up hosting, I'd be a little concerned, not scared. You don't show fear, but I'd be a little concerned if you're one of those top 8 teams, because that's a very tough first round draw if you have to take on the Cardinals.
Yeah, Mooney's really starting to get themselves. They're on the up and up, trying to get back to a program, of course, that we saw them become in the late 2000s, well, throughout all of the 2000s and the early 2010s. And hey, I've always trusted in them. I was one of the only people that picked them last week against Harding. They went down 17-0 early on, and they came back and won 26-17. So I will ride with Mooney. I know we're not making picks, but one spoiler, I'm riding with the Cards this week against Steubenville.
Defense has looked good for the Cards all season long and has had flashes of brilliance on offense. They go as AOB goes, Ashton O'Brien, for sure. Before we let you go, Romo, I know you got to get out of here, too, to conclude this first hour of our previews for tonight's matchup before we get into a football player and a football coach interview in our second hour. Let's just go over these 29 matchups that we looked at, Romo. what particular ones, outside of obviously the one you're going to be at with Ysn Running, what ones are you going to be kind of paying attention to the score of, or maybe tuning in to see what Mike Ackelson has to say about him on the audible call?
So I think off the bat, one game that I always pay attention to every week, showing no bias, is Hubbard. Just because I'm from there, I always want to pay attention and see what the Eagles do. I think another big game this week is Austintown Fitch against Boardman. I think that Fitch, coming off such a thrilling victory against Wadsworth last week, you don't want to kind of have a victory hangover heading into the next week. You got to be ready because this is a rivalry game. Boardman's going to give you your best shot no matter what. The Springfield-Jackson-Milton game, I think, is a huge game to look forward to for both teams here tonight. Gerard Struthers is another big game tonight. And, I mean, yeah, I think those are the games that really stand out to me that'll show a lot about both teams in those games here tonight.
A lot of conference championships that can be determined tonight as well. Those are always nice to wrap up right before week 10 too. But going into week 10, a lot of these teams in their final playoff push, and it certainly is going to be interesting, again, as we look through 29 matchups on the docket. We actually also have 2 matchups, though, that won't be on the network tonight, but figure we talk about them real quick, give them some love. Edison's going to Buckeye Local, and the interesting story all year about the Edison Wildcats, too, and we've been highlighting it. It's a team that was 0-10 in 2019, and now are currently going into week 9, 8-0 on the season, and a chance to have going to be favorited against 2-6 Buckeye Local, a 1-win team next week. Going to be favorited these next 2 weeks. They have a chance to do the complete 180 turnaround and go 10-0 on a season. I mean, got to be one of the greatest stories we've had in the YSN, I think, network in some time.
I think definitely that's really remarkable. They kind of remind me of an Ursuline team last year that that senior class, their freshman year, they were 0-10, and then their senior year, they made it to the state championship game. But Edison, our best luck, our best wishes to them. That's going to be a team that will definitely surprise a lot of teams, I think, come playoff time. And they just got to polish up these last 2 weeks, secure that 10-0 record, and go on from there.
Going to be interesting to talk about because Edison is also number 4 in the same region as South Range. So it could be a eventual matchup down the road, you see, with the Wildcats. We're definitely wishing them the best of luck again as they take on Buckeye Local, trying to go 9-0 on the season. Also, we head into Pennsylvania as well as a matchup that's going on tonight as Freedom Area will be at Mohawk. Over in the Keystone State for our one and only team over there, as they're going to be in action tonight as well on the gridiron. So best of luck to our teams that will not unfortunately be on the network tonight, but still 29 games that we're going to be having on the network tonight. We're going to have 30 total over the weekend with the football game tomorrow as well, but plenty of conferences that are going to be decided tonight, plenty of big games that are just on the network tonight out of conference, and plenty of games with playoff implication. As Anthony Romo and I get to get you previewed for those 29 games, we're going to get ready for our second hour of Running Point. Don't forget, 1:10, we're going to have the Western Reserve quarterback, Luke Henning, joining us to talk about his matchup tonight and the season so far. Also at 1:30, Waterloo head coach Mike DeVee is going to be on tonight today to talk about his matchup tonight with the McDonald Blue Devils as the Vikings try to get themselves into playoff positioning. But Roma, we thank you, of course, as always, for joining us, helping us preview these matchups. Get your picks in, I'm sure, because by Running Point end and by the start of the Power Hour, all those picks are going to be announced on the Super Show.
Yep, definitely going to be a great night for football on the network. About to go do some stuff at YSU real quick. Hopefully the Guardians get a win today, and then hopefully we'll have some good games on the network tonight. So thanks for having me, Ty.
For sure. Romo going to be over at Ursuline versus East. You could hear his voice along the legendary Steve Leslie, too. And I mean, just talk about that experience real quick, I guess, before we let you go, Romo. What's that been like, getting to share a booth with Mr. Steve Leslie?
It has been a blast. And it's one of those guys where it's like you hear the cliche, your work partners, you see them more than your own family. So Steve and I do interviews at the Golden Dawn on Tuesdays for Ursuline. We do interviews for Fitch on Wednesdays at Sam's Wedge Inn. Sometimes I join Steve on Thursdays at Cheney at Hackett's. And then Fridays, we do football games. We have a blast together, and we're hoping, praying that first week of December we'll still be calling high school football games together at the Hall of Fame Stadium in Canton.
For sure. We're wishing you guys the best of luck tonight and tonight's broadcast and going forward. Thanks so much, Roma, for joining us again.
Of course.
As our guy, the man, the myth, the legend, best Romo in the business, Anthony Romo, gets to join us for the first hour of Running Point today to preview our 29 live matchups tonight. And stay active in the comment section, folks, to let us know what matchup you're most excited for tonight, and maybe some of your picks too. Even though we don't make the picks here on Running Point, that's more for the Power Hour on the Super Show. Still, we are never shy to take some picks in the comment section and throw them up on the screen as well. Like we said, plenty of conference battles on the line, plenty of conference championships to be determined. How about the MVAC having both the gray and the scarlet tier championship on the line tonight, with Brookfield going to Garfield, and then, of course, Mineral Ridge hosting Lowville. Both those matchups certainly going to be interesting tonight, as both conferences will be decided tonight. Let's go over real quick all of our matchups before we take our second break of the day and who will be announcing all of them. Yours truly will be at Boardman versus Austintown Fitch. Boxcast will be taking care of Brookfield at Garfield. We'll have the link on ysnlive.com. Noah Doty and CJ Schroeds will be at Camel Memorial versus Newton Falls at Newton Falls, Cleveland Central Catholic goes to Warren JFK at Liberty. Important note, too, if you're going out to that game, Warren JFK going to be at Liberty High School to host Cleveland Central Catholic. Dom O'Brien, voice of the Eagles, as always, going to be on the call for that one. Columbiana goes to Latonia as Joe Eusebio from the Clippers, too, becoming a voice of the Clippers. And Hoppy going to have the call in that EOAC battle. Crestview goes to Champion on the gray side of the MVAC, as Larry Scragg and Alec Hancock's going to be on the call for that one. Anthony Romo and Steve Leslie, we just said, is going to be on that call for Ursuline, as they will host East. Tim Figley will be on the call as East Palestine travels to the Wigwam to take on Southern Local and the Indians, coming off their loss to Valley. Both those teams looking for another conference win. The 4-0 and Gold Boys are going to be on the matchup of Fairport Harding at Ashtabula St. John, one of two matchups in 2 consecutive weeks, and a home and away stint for those two. Girard at Struthers tonight. Alec Caberna are going to be on the call tonight for that one, as the Indians looking to keep themselves securely in position of a top 4 seed in their region. Struthers at 16, trying to stay alive and keep climbing those rankings. Howland travels to Campfield as the voice of the Cards. Richie Giuliano going to be behind the call tonight for that one. Jefferson travels to Poland as Anthony Malone himself going to be on the call, voice of the Poland Bulldogs. Great matchup that's going to be, as well as the Falcons and Bulldogs, both 5-3, both looking to get themselves a good playoff spot, as they're both competing right now inside the top 8 inside of Region 4 or Division 4, Region 13. Michael McKenzie, voice of Beaver Local, going to be on the call, as Cleveland John Hay travels to town to take on the Beaver Local Beavers. Big computer point matchup in that one for the Beavers. Lakeside will travel to Orange, as the school will have that call out in Pepper Pike for the Lions. Lakeview travels to South Range, as DJ Yoakley, voice of the Raiders, going to be on the call for that one, backing the South Range Raiders and the Lakeview Bulldogs in that NE8 matchup. Liberty goes to LeBray, as Brian Oatridge going to be on the call. Liberty looking for their 4th consecutive win in a row. Lisbon goes to United. Chris Sigler has been following the Golden Eagles all season long. They host in that competitive Lisbon Blue Devil team, and what should be a good EOAC battle tonight. Lowville travels to Mineral Ridge, and you couldn't have a really bigger matchup than that. Jake Silak had all the interviews done with Brian Shaner and players over the week, as he'll be on the call for that conference battle between the Rockets and the Rams. Matthews travels to Wyndham to take on the Bombers. The school will have coverage on that one for us. David Williams and Jamie Thompson, voice of the Hubbard Eagles, will be in the booth tonight as Niles comes to town to take on Hubbard. Notre Dame Cathedral Latin goes to Louisville, as Bob Burek, as always, on the call for the Leopards. Oak Glen travels to East Liverpool. Tommy Pease, the voice of the Potters, on the call. Matt Mowry and Jared Needheiser from Salem goes to Marlington in that battle of the Quakers and the Dukes. Springfield travels to Jackson Milton as Noah Rick's going to be on the call in that one. Jackson Milton looked to get some respect in the conference. Springfield looking for win number 5 in a row. Gary and Coy on the call as Valley Christian comes to town to take on the Wellsville Tigers. Chance for Valley to wrap up the EOAC and claim themselves as conference champions tonight. Warren G. Harding goes to Cheney in what should be a battle of athleticism at Raines Stadium. Matt Morrison and John on the call for that one. Waterloo will travel to McDonald as Ian O'Brien going to be on the call for that one as the Vikings take on the Blue Devils, both teams looking to get themselves into the playoffs. West Branch going to Carrollton as Michael, per usual, on the call, traveling with the team, though, to Carrollton as the Warriors look for an EBC Conference Championship. Aaron Moser going to be on the call as Western Reserve will travel to Sebring looking to get themselves back on their feet. Speaking on Western Reserve, that's going to be our interview that we will have next. Coming up at 1:10, Luke Henning, the quarterback from the Blue Devils, going to be joining me to talk about the matchup tonight and the season so far. And we'll have that interview and more right after this break on Running Point, brought to you by ysnlive.com.
Locally owned and operated, Sheely's relaxed shopping experience means browsing and lounging is always encouraged.
Find Flex Deal and more at Sheely's Furniture and Appliance, because the best things in life happen at home.
How lucky are we to have not one, but 2 18-hole Donald Ross Championship golf courses right here in our backyards. Mill Creek Golf Course was selected by Golf Week as one of America's 30 best municipal courses, continuing to challenge golfers of all levels and featuring golf instruction by PGA professionals, a state-of-the-art practice range, a PGA of America recognized pro shop, kids programs, and a relaxing grill room for a memorable golf experience. For more information or to schedule a tee time, visit millcreekmetroparks.org.
Fall is in the air. The kids are back to school, crowds are cheering for the home team, and Myers Family Insurance is prepped for another crazy Medicare season. Every year there's changes, some big, some small, so it's important to have a conversation to make sure your plan is going to meet your expectations for the coming year. Give our team a call today to schedule your annual review.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance or visit us on the web. Check us out online at myersfamilyins.com.
Going from mindful to mindful sometimes requires a helping, healing hand. Insight Clinical Counseling and Wellness offers a continuum of mental health and wellness care. At Insight, we're changing the way you receive counseling and wellness services with experienced licensed clinicians and expertly trained wellness staff. With 4 locations in Mahoning and Columbiana County, along with telehealth services, Insight offers clients quick access to care when they need it. Transform your mental health and wellness at Insight Clinical Counseling and Wellness.
Before the lights come on, before the workday begins, before a long day is ended, or it's time to have fun, it all starts with the people at Joe Dickey Electric. From replacing a light fixture in your home to building a substation for your business, no job is too big or too small. The people of Joe Dickey Electric power them all. Joe Dickey Electric, over 60 years of powering the Mahoning Valley.
Why choose local? Because you live here, work here, learn here, relax here, and celebrate here. 21 WFMJ is our Valley's only locally owned TV station, and our focus is local. Other TV stations don't have that same focus, as their owners are somewhere else. But 21 WFMJ is rooted in the Valley. Local people making decisions that affect your life, right here where you live.
You're looking to your future, preparing for your goals, and they're closer than you think. Because here, success is part of the plan. It's a place where academic and social opportunities are meant to prepare you for life, not just the next 4 years. You'll be equipped to face new challenges and turn hard work into a career. You're ready for your success to take root. And here's where it starts. We are Youngstown State University, and proud
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Welcome back, everybody, to Running Point here on a Friday edition as we get you ready for Friday Night Lights, week number 9 around the Valley. As a couple of comments coming into, I guess, YSN YouTube page. It's the one that's commenting. Who takes the big one tonight, Lovo and Vinny, or the Rams and Valley? We'll get those picks, of course, today on the Super Show for Power Hour from 3 to 4. But I think in this one, you got to really look. I think that's exactly where you look as the quarterback play. Both Vinny Ballone and Tristan Valley have been playing, I think, out of their minds this season. And I think the common denominator, if you will, was the Jackson Milton Blue Jays. And you look at what both of these teams did against a Jackson Milton team that was very competitive, and Giavi himself in his own right has been playing very well this season. But both of these teams had big games against Jackson Milton, and I kind of felt like that was a anything you can do, I can do better kind of scenario, and it was a big test for both of these teams. Rams got a lot of criticism, I think, right out of the gate after dropping that one to Springfield, even though that was a close matchup, and Springfield was in a point where they were 0-4 in the season, and the Tigers really could not be 0-5, so if you were going to get maybe the most desperate form of the Springfield Tigers, that might have been just that Mineral Ridge had. So maybe the worst timed matchup for the Rams in that case. But of course, no excuses. But outside of that, Rams played them very close. Springfield played the Rockets very close for a large chunk of that game before Vinny Ballone and crew just put together some offensive drives where, again, they just look like they're unstoppable. And that's going to be the biggest case, is which defense is going to be able to get the stop, right? Which defense, or which offense rather, is going to blink first and have that key turnover that's going to enable a defense to take advantage and get their offense right back on the field for a 2-for-1 opportunity. I think that's going to be the interesting question in that game tonight. Also in the MVAC Scarlet side, though, it's going to be a matchup between the Western Reserve Blue Devils and the Sebring Trojans, as we're going to be talking to their quarterback, Mr. Luke Henning himself. As let me get you situated real quick in this screen so we can do you all right up for this player profile. But sir, how we doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Oh, not doing bad as well. You aren't doing too bad on the season, as you're kind of all over the place, offensively, defensively. You guys have a big chance tonight to, if you get a win, get back into the playoff picture. What's kind of been that talk like in the locker room with Coach Armini?
It's kind of just trying to keep everyone together and still, thinking that we still got a chance to make the playoffs, and just to keep everything that happened in the past behind us, and basically just not thinking about it.
In this season, I mean, you're putting together a great year, over 1,000 passing yards, 11 passing touchdowns too. Where have you seen the most growth in your play, whether it's on the field, off the field? Where have you seen the most growth in yourself as a football player this year?
I think for me, just like knowing the defense we're playing and just basically knowing who to read all the time and just making the right throws whenever I'm supposed to, honestly.
Playing on the defensive side, you also have a couple of picks on the season as well. Do you find that your defensive experience has helped you with your quarterback play and in reading the defenses and having more success against tough secondaries?
Yeah, because I mean, obviously me being a safety, I kind of know how some safeties might want to think and what they're thinking the quarterback's going to do. So it's nice knowing basically what the safety's thinking. So you just make the right throws all the time.
I mean, this, as Joe Itel and the computer rankings have become a big thing for fans, I gotta figure the teams, the football players, you guys are all kind of curious on where you're ranking after big wins and losses too. Is it something that you guys follow closely, and are you constantly aware of where you are in the rankings too, and where you need to be and how much each win is kind of weighted?
I mean, no, it's kind of funny though, because I don't really pay attention to the rankings or even my stats sometimes. I just try to focus on the game ahead of us and just go play.
Just kind of roll with it.
Yeah.
With your experience in football, though, where did you find yourself first kind of loving the sport and finding yourself wanting to continue it through the high school ranks?
I mean, I've been playing since I was like third grade, so I've been playing it my whole life. And my older brother Todd, he played throughout high school. He was a really good player here, so he kind of just I watched him and it made me want to play more.
Was safety the original position that you played at third grade, you said?
Yeah.
So where did the quarterback kind of come into the fold, and when did you come into taking this position over?
I don't know. Around like third grade, I didn't really play quarterback as much. I played more of running back, but like right when fourth, fifth grade hit, I don't know. I just started playing quarterback, and I never stopped from there. I don't really know. It just kind of came about.
Just kept it to the development. Now, have you looked at? I'm sure you've played in different schemes too. Is there a preferred scheme that you like? Would you rather run the ball, pass the ball? Because you obviously have stats in both too.
Yeah.
Which one do you prefer? You obviously are capable. You can do both. You're good at both. But do you have a preference in passing to running?
Honestly, it just depends who we're playing that week, and if I think I can do better running or passing. It honestly just depends who we're playing.
And talking about who you're playing, I know that all those rivalries inside that MVAC, the rivalries with McDonald, the rivalries with Jackson Milton, I mean, they run deep. But talk about playing inside a Western Reserve, inside this Berlin Center community. What kind of support you get from them too, and why Friday Night Lights feel so special when you have to go out and perform for them?
I mean, we've been through a bunch of coaches, obviously, in the past couple of years, and just seeing all the fans coming out and them still supporting us through thick and thin, no matter what. It's a really good feeling just knowing that you have your community behind your back and you just go out and play Friday nights for them.
Despite the few coaches that have come in too, Coach Armini too has had plenty of success outside of this program too. So he brings a lot of experience with success into the program. What are some things that he's taught you too, and some of your big takeaways from Coach Armini's coaching style and his teaching style for you guys?
Yeah, it's different than what I've had in the past, and he's kind of just taught us to, like, I mean, football's a hard sport. There's going to be some good, there's going to be some bad. You just got to kind of learn from your mistakes and forget about the past and just work on what's in front of you.
In talking about that, yeah, you guys have had a couple of those overtime losses that didn't go your way last part of the game too. What has been the biggest key for you to try to make sure you stay mentally even going into next week's matchup or the week after that's matchup and still get yourself in position to potentially get into the playoffs?
I mean, for me, it's just like the seniors, I mean, they don't really deserve it's just like playing for them, really. They don't deserve this. It's just trying to get them into the playoffs. And I mean, obviously we still have a chance, and it's just now that we know we have a chance, you just got to go out and play.
When you now came into the season as a junior, you're always asked to do a little bit more once you're an upperclassman. What were some of your biggest, I guess, points of growth in trying to become a leader too? And what's your leadership style kind of like too when you're running that team down the field under center?
I mean, for me, I'm not like a very, very vocal person like at practice, but when it comes to games, I'm very, very competitive. And sometimes I might come off as like, I'm very aggressive when I try to be a leader, and I kind of yell at people sometimes, and I might get under the skin, but I tell them after. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to make you better. And yeah, that's all I try to do for us.
It's all love. It's a leadership style. Does that competitiveness get taken into the house though? Is that competitiveness brought into the home?
Definitely between me, my brother, and my dad.
Is it does it transfer over video games, board games, both? What's that kind of like?
Oh yeah, board games, video games. Video games the biggest one, 100%. When I'm playing with my friends, I'll be yelling at them on the mic.
What's the game that really gets the competitive juices flowing for you between the friends?
Probably 2K or Call of Duty.
All right, so in 2K, who's the go-to team for you, and who's the best competitor? Who's the best competition between you and your friends on 2K?
I'd probably say best competitor, Josh Stamp. He plays for us. He's a running back and linebacker. And then for my team, I'd probably pick the all-time Lakers or the all-time Celtics, one of the two.
Oh, definitely. I mean, that's definitely one of the primetime teams, certainly. Looking at other teammates, though, we talked about your leadership in this season, too. What were some of those big senior leaders that you've had along the way that have really influenced your kind of leadership style and the way you like to do things on the football field?
Last year, our seniors, Caleb Durig and Noah Schaefer, they were real big into like weight room, and they just really they were just really good leaders to me. And I was obviously really good friends with them off the field, as Schaefer is actually my neighbor and we still hang out to this day. And they just had a really big impact on me. And then this year, I'd probably say PJ Barris, he's one of our linemen. He's very passionate about football and really wants to win, which obviously rubs off onto a lot of people on our team.
You guys have a chance to win in this one as you're going to Sebring to take on the Trojans. Take us inside the locker room. Obviously, don't give away the whole playbook that Armini's drawn up for you guys. But what's kind of been the highlights and some of the focal points that he's been talking about with you guys ahead of this Sebring matchup?
He's just kind of been telling us, just worry about the game in front of you, get that done, and worry about the next week. Just be 1-0 every week and kind of just focus on the game plan and do what they say because they know what they're talking about. For sure.
It should be an interesting one tonight as you guys are going to Sebring. But let's talk about what you guys do after a big win or after a big game like that too, especially conference ones. What's the go-to spot or what's the go-to meal, I guess, after a big win?
After a win, most people obviously go to B-Dubs to get wings, go there. But I mean, sometimes I just don't feel like going out. I'll just go sit around a fire or sit at somebody's house with my friends and just chill.
When you do go to B-Dubs, okay, we'll split it up. So when you do go to B-Dubs, what's the order? Is it the wings? Do you have to go wings or do you go something off the menu?
Honestly, it just depends how I feel. Sometimes I get 30 boneless, whatever flavor I feel, and then sometimes I get a burger. Honestly, it just depends how I feel after that game.
I kind of mix and match the flavors as well, but we all have our preferences and our go-to. Like, what's your one go-to, or do you have like a go-to and then like maybe a backup? Like, I'm feeling this most times. I got to get this at least in a mix.
Usually, when I get wings, it's half honey barb and then half Parmesan garlic, and then I always get the chili queso for an appetizer.
When you go to when you decide not to do the Buffalo Wild Wings and you try to go around the bonfire with the friends too, what's your favorite thing about those kind of moments too? I mean, what are some any activities? Is there anything that you guys do with the bonfire too? I know the bonfire can kind of lead itself to whatever you guys want it to be, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's just fun being around all your friends, making memories that you'll probably remember for the rest of your life. At the bonfire, I mean, whatever comes about, we just want to do something. We're just going to do it.
Do you find yourself, as you're becoming an upperclassman, taking in moments a little bit more and really like cherishing, like you said, those memories that you're making now that you're getting a little bit older and, senior days are coming up rapidly. They're going to be here before you know it.
Yeah, I mean, especially recently now that the season's obviously we're getting towards week 10 and everything. I've just been trying to cherish every moment because I know senior year will be right around the corner. Because I mean, you hear all the upperclassmen say that all the time after the season's over. Like, obviously, take your time and just enjoy it, basically, because it's not forever.
Looking at some of the teachers that have had an influence on you, who's been your favorite teacher in that Western Reserve School program?
Ooh. I don't know.
We don't have to give them like the gold number one. You could just get one off the top if you want.
My English teacher from freshman and sophomore year, Miss Weaver, she just went to MCCTC. She was really nice. I liked her.
Talking about the coaching and the teachers that you've had, because they go hand in hand. Mm-hmm. What are you looking for in particular in a coach? What do you think makes a good coach? What do you think makes a good teacher, and something that might draw you to that particular coach or teacher?
I like when they kind of like, if I do something wrong, they're yelling at me, but they're also telling me what I did wrong and just tell me what I need to do better and just basically getting on my case about what I need to do. I like that.
Now flipping that too, as you're kind of in that teacher role, being that upperclassman, a lot of younger kids are going to come to you asking for advice, and you're having success on both sides of the field. What's a bit of advice, or I guess if you were to give like a small blueprint to have success in the sport of football or in this program, what would be some advice you give to some younger kids to have success in the sport?
I'd basically just tell them that off season is probably one of the biggest things to being a good football player. You obviously got to hit the weight room. You got to get bigger, and you just got to kind of work on what your mechanics going to be like during the season. Then just listen to your coaches. Don't talk back to them. Just listen to them.
All right, Luke, before we let you go, I want to give you the chance to shout out your support system, the people that have always been there for you, and the people you couldn't have done all this in this journey without.
Oh yeah, I definitely like to thank my family. My brother is the biggest one. He's always pushing me. Obviously, we get in arguments all the time, but he's always pushing me to just be a better person and just do what I can. And then obviously all my coaches, the new ones, the old ones, they've really helped me a lot in my journey about learning football and just how to be a man.
All right, Luke, thank you so much for your time joining us tonight. Good luck in your matchup tonight, and hopefully we'll be talking to you again real soon about a win.
Thank you. Thank you.
Luke Henning from Western Reserve Football, the quarterback, the safety, the do-all man over there with the Blue Devils as they gear up for their matchup with Sebring tonight. Great interview with a great young man, no doubt. As we get ready to go into the coach's mindset with another MVAC Scarlet Tier matchup tonight between the Waterloo Vikings and the McDonald Blue Devils. We'll talk to Waterloo head coach Mike DeVries right after this break on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, we offer a worry-free experience for all our customers. From sales to financing and even service, we'll help build your perfect vehicle
and lock in your trade value
while your vehicle is being built.
No worries.
We guarantee financing,
regardless of your situation or credit history.
No worries. And when your vehicle needs service,
our award-winning team will get you back on the road.
No worries.
That's what going the extra mile means. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Change. This one word can make you break out in a cold sweat. But with change comes wisdom, experience, and understanding. At Myers Family Insurance, we can help make changes in Medicare, insurance, and retirement a positive experience for you and your family. We've gone through changes, like our new office and new faces to help our family of clients too.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance. Check us out online at myersfamilyins.com or find us on Facebook.
You're not waiting to see what the world has in store for you. It's more about what you have in store for the world. All you need is the opportunity. All you need are the resources of a large university and the advantages of a personalized academic setting where you can experience new worlds in the arts and sciences, business, and education and make them your own. We are where you shape your future. We are Youngstown State University and proud.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Welcome back, everyone, to a Friday edition of Running Point. We just got concluded with a great interview with Western Reserve quarterback and safety Luke Henning as we get on the player side of things. Now we go to the coaching side as we turn to Mr. Mike DeVries from the Waterloo football program and the Vikings. And, Coach, how we doing today?
Oh, I'm doing well. Thanks, Ty. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure having you join us, Coach. And I guess the first and foremost thing I want to talk about, well, first I want to bring up the fact that prior to, or concluding, I should say, last week's game, they asked me what I thought Coach Mike DeVries thought. And I was going to say, I bet you he said he loved the defensive effort, but I'm sure he's preaching about offense in practice this week too. Let's go over that last week's game. What your takeaways from it were, some positives that you noted, and some things you definitely want to work on going into this week.
Yeah, we made some uncharacteristic mistakes on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, that's been kind of our bread and butter this year. We've been able to move the ball on people and control the clock a little bit and played a physical brand of football, and we got away from that a little bit last week. We have emphasized that. We take a lot of pride in our brand. I had a friend of mine that's in the league. He said that he thought we were one of the more physical teams in the Scarlet side of the MVAC, and we take pride in it. It take us a long time to build that, and for whatever reason we got away from it last week. So we're trying to get back to being that physical aggressive team.
What did you think about the defensive performance of the boys, though, despite some uncharacteristic turnovers, uncharacteristics on offense, to be able to only allow those 7 points against what has been a strong passing attack from Chiavi and rushing attack?
Well, it was awesome. To be honest, and we don't make excuses, but we've been banged up a little bit. When you play that style of football, you tend to get some injuries, and we lost our leading tackler for the year a couple weeks ago in Dakota Finney. We're playing a sophomore at the middle linebacker spot, and we got a lot of young kids on the field, but they're learning the right way, and they're playing fast and they're playing physical, and for them to put up the whole Jackson Milton to 7 points, they've got phenomenal athletes over there. I was pretty proud of them.
What is the biggest thing for you as a coach when you see those younger players coming up? What is kind of the biggest thing you're looking for? Because younger players, I'm sure, minds are scrambling. They're trying to impress. Get playing time, get noticed too. But from your perspective, what are the things that you notice most, and what are the things that ultimately earns those younger players playing time in your eyes?
Well, I tell those kids, and I'm an old run guy. I use the old Woody Hayes philosophy. If a dog's going to bite, he's going to bite as a pup. So we're looking for kids who aren't afraid to get in there and get dirty. We got kids like Landon McLean who'll come up and tackle anybody. He was probably our most consistent tackler on Mason Duncan last year in practice. Our young kids didn't want to tackle him, but Landon found a way to get him on the ground every day. Eric May was in double-digit tackles last week against Jackson Milton. It's another sophomore kid that, he's just earning his stripes, and he had to play a full game on both sides of the ball due to some injuries. Fox moved up to our strong guard spot, and Eric May filled in a blocking back for us. So, we're looking for a little more consistency from him from that side of the ball, but defensively, he played lights out for us.
We don't want the playbook, obviously, for tonight, but we do want to know some of your keys to a victory and some of the things you've been preaching in the locker room with your boys ahead of this McDonald matchup.
Oh, I mean, I'll give you the playbook. We're going to run the football. That's what we do. We're not going to hang our hat on a pass game. I think defensively, they got some home run hitters in Schobel and Wallachek, and you got to block those two defensive tackles, and their linebacker. They got a really good linebacker in Danny Gray. Those are the guys you got to stop in the middle, and you got to be able to run the football and control the clock against. Danny Williams' teams. I love that dude. They're disciplined. If they're supposed to step with the right foot, they're going to step with the right foot, and they play sound defensively, and they're always a threat offensively, no matter what their record is.
We talked about it too. That's one of those kind of big four teams that we've noted inside the conference as tough teams, definitely to try to come away with victories against. Another type of physical branded team. When you kind of go up against a team that has similar mindset, similar goals, execute things similarly to you, do you find that as more of a challenge, or do you find that as more of I guess easier to adjust, knowing how they're going to play too, knowing that McDonald's a run heavy team as well?
Well, you cherish those because Dan plays my kind of football, right? And he went to the zone a few years ago, the spread it look a few years ago, but he's a run guy. I've known Danny a long time, and he's a good dude, and he's going to preach physical football. And when we went to the single wing a few years ago, probably one of them where our brand changed a little bit was the McDonald game. And we lost 42-21 at their place a few years ago. But we had some 9-minute drives where, we weren't able to get in the end zone. And we played physical football, and it kind of turned the tide on our success.
This has definitely been a team too, like you said, that has been playing a lot of physical brands of football too. What are some of those players along the way that you've been impressed with, not necessarily by what they've done on the football field as much as what they've done in the locker room outside of the weight room? Who's really stepped up as vocal leaders for you on this squad this year?
It's funny. We don't have a whole lot of vocal leaders, but our kids lead by example. I'm telling you, I tell them every day I love them. That 2 hours of practice, it's the best time of the day for me. We have great kids here. I mean, I have no high maintenance kids in my locker room. They do what they're supposed to do. The locker room's always clean. They take care of their home. They take care of the school. They're just good kids. So, I'm probably more proud of them than somebody that's a hype guy.
Continuing to upgrade the facilities. I mean, we've gotten a chance to see it, experience it too. The Lee Horning press box is in full effect. How cool has that been too? And how cool has it been for the kids to have these kind of renovations done and to see that the school and the community care about them to put back into these programs for them?
They take a lot of pride in that, and kids should play at their home field. That year that we had to go to Marlington to play, it was hard. It was hard on the kids, and it was hard on the parents. You think about it, you have to have your senior night at somebody else's field. Things like that it's just weird, and things that kids shouldn't have to go through. God bless the Stadium Foundation for doing everything they've done. Things are coming along where, we'd like to put in a visitor's press box and clean up the track a little bit. But those are things that are going to take time.
You get a chance to obviously work very close with Lee Horning too, and I mean, I get a chance to talk to him. Yeah, he absolutely is. I mean, he's the type of guy too, where you name that kind of press box after him, he would never ask for it in a million years, never wants that kind of recognition. But I mean, you see the sparkle in his eye and the smile he has, seeing that the community honored it, that kind of thing to him. How important does he play in the role of Waterloo schools too? And talk about Lee Horning and why it's so important naming that press box after him and kind of immortalizing him with Waterloo High School.
Oh, I have a hard time doing what I do without him. He's probably here as much or more than I am. The guy, and I'll never forget when we dedicated the press box to him, that look in his eye. It's one of those things that you just never forget, and very seldom in life do you feel pure joy for somebody. But the night that we did that, and he was clueless, which we did a pretty good job of hiding it from him somehow. I can't think of a guy that's more deserving, though. He's the mayor of Waterloo, if there ever was one.
For sure. We all love Lee Horning out there as well. Before we wrap up this interview and get into the football world again, before we do that, I want to take a brief detour into I guess still football world, but we call it soccer here. The MVAC champions for the girls team. I know, you being the athletic director, I want to highlight this team because going undefeated. We talked about them before the season a little bit. We talked with the coaching staffs as well. It's got to be a proud moment for these girls to have the success that they did on this tough slate that they had on this schedule.
Oh, absolutely. And the front line really gets a lot of credit in Kara English, who's, she's 137 goals or whatever she's got in her career as a junior, and Rose Couts and Sydney Jackson, whose assist is unbelievable. But the back edge of our team is, it's really where the money's made in Lily Foster and Kayla Turzak and Lily Snyder. Those girls, I mean, you talk about holding down the fort, and then our goalkeeper, Gracie Arian. People just don't get a lot of shots on goal because, that back edge is pretty tough.
For sure. And I mean, congratulations to them, MVAC champions, as they're going to be continuing their trek for the playoffs. But you guys will be continuing it as well, as you guys need a win against McDonald to get yourself into a playoff picture, playoff positioning. But Coach, we know that Atwater community is so influential for you guys on Friday nights. How big are they going to play a role in this one tonight, and kind of call out, I guess, the community of Atwater, let them know how much you're going to need them to travel to McDonald tonight?
We do, and we've talked to the kids about it. These are two big games coming up. We really only have one playoff appearance in the history of the school, and we're afforded an opportunity to take care of business. But it's not going to be an easy 2 weeks with McDonald and Mineral Ridge for sure.
Definitely not, Coach. We wish you the best of luck in that matchup tonight as Waterloo looks to get themselves back to the playoffs against McDonald.
Hey, Ty, we got to get you out here for a wrestling tournament.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Coach Foster said he'll get you a front row.
I will have to stop out there too. Winter, I'm always busy with basketball too. I'll be down there for the boys and girls basketball games, but I'll have to stop out for a wrestling tournament.
Middle of December, we host one of the biggest D3 tournaments in the state.
I've always, when talking with our man Gary Altizer, he talked about it as well too. He talked about you guys always having that big tournament. So you know what? Maybe I'll have to find it in my schedule. Make plans to stop up there for sure.
We'll put you up on the stage.
We love it too. I love that Atwater community, Coach. Good luck tonight, and we wish you the best of luck. Hopefully, we're talking about a win after tonight.
Good deal. Thanks, Ty.
All right, thank you, Coach. Coach Mike DeVries from the Waterloo Vikings. Always great to hear him stop by and talk with us here on ysnlive.com as the Vikings currently sit at 3-5, looking to get themselves into the playoff picture again as they're going to be taking on the McDonald Blue Devils again in a MVAC matchup tonight. Should be interesting. A lot of teams fighting to get into the playoffs tonight and a lot of conference championships that will be decided tonight as well. We're going to take our final break of the day, get all those matchups and everything wound down for you as well one more time before the end of Running Point here on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
Hi, this is Zell Bush.
Hi, this is Tom Flynn. Hi, this is Steve Rossetto.
Hi, this is Ryan Miller.
Hi, this is Rich Sakui from WRS Wealth Advisors.
With our combined 80 years of experience,
WRS Wealth Advisors are the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Call 330-965-0370 to learn more about our individual and corporate financial planning services.
Or visit WRSwealth.com.
Go Raiders.
Go Dogs.
Go Cats. Go Dogs. Go Tigers.
Jimmy Sutton here, Director of Isle, Purple Cat, and Golden String. We are happy to support YSN and two of my favorite people, Scotty Mincher and Super Dave O'Malley. We are an agency that provides services for adults with disabilities. We infuse humor, passion, and joy into their lives. If you know of any folks with disabilities that need our assistance, please contact us.
Reliability, innovation, scale. These three values are those we look forward to in our business and in our team. If you're ready for a reliable employer who looks constantly to think outside the box in big ways, we're ready for you. Apply now. Help us push the envelope and deliver success. Envelope 1. Take that one extra step.
Winter, spring, summer, and fall. Mill Creek Metro Parks is your park for all seasons. Make a memory in the park. Plan your visit today at millcreekmetroparks.org.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Your teams work hard and give it all they've got. Well, so does ours, because 21 Sports and YSN give you extra effort when covering local sports. 21 Sports and YSN, winning coverage of our Valley's teams.
Hi, I want to tell you about my Trish Yearwood home collection available at Sheely's Furniture.
With 2 locations serving Ohio and Pennsylvania, Sheely's is one of the country's top sellers of My Home collection. And the best part? At Sheely's, you never have to wait for a sale. They offer everyday low pricing as well as a price match guarantee, so you can shop the Trisha Yearwood Home Collection with confidence. Come see my collection with something to offer for every room in your home and get it all with free local delivery, only at Sheely's Furniture.
Welcome back, everybody, here on Running Point for our Friday edition, getting you ready for week 9 of the high school football season already. Can you believe it? As great show already today, our first hour, we kicked off with Anthony Romo, also YSN member, as we talked and previewed the 29 matchups that we're going to be having live for you tonight. Following that, at 1:10, we had Luke Henning from Western Reserve Football, quarterback safety from that team, come by and chat, have a player profile interview with him loaded in, as we had the matchup between Reserve and Sebring tonight that we previewed for that one. Waterloo and McDonald also happening tonight, as we talked with Coach Mike DeVries ahead of that one as well. Comments section as well. We also had this question too: who has the potential for the upset of the night? And flat out, I think the one that I immediately looked at as potential upset alert, I'm looking at Warren Harding against Cheney. And just because Warren Harding has had bad luck in late game situations doesn't mean they can't get it done. We saw what they were able to do to Boardman not too long ago. Harding definitely has the athleticism and the skill set. I mean, you look at the record, it's 2-6 versus 7-1. So yeah, it doesn't look too pretty on the surface, but you look a little deeper. These are great athletes on both sides of the ball, and it's definitely not going to be a cakewalk, easy victory, I think, for the Cheney Cowboys on the slate. It's still going to be a tough matchup indeed. But I think that has potential for the upset of the night. But looking across again, we'll go through these 29 matchups one more time. But great matchups on the network tonight. 29 of them, all live, all free. Thanks in part to all of our sponsors too that are able to bring these matchups to you absolutely free. Again, ysnlive.com/live to get the complete list of games that we're going to have on the docket for you tonight. I will be at Boardman at Austintown Fitch for that matchup between AAC conference foes and that age-old matchup, 76 matchup overall between these two schools. Brookfield goes to Garfield. Boxcast will have that one, but we will have the link on ysnlive.com, as this is going to be for the MVAC Gray Division Championship. Brookfield going to Garfield. Campbell Memorial at Newton Falls with Noah Doty and CJ Schroeds. Cleveland Central Catholic goes to Warren JFK, but that's at Liberty High School. Again, Warren JFK, the home team, but it's at Liberty High School. Cleveland Central Catholic coming to town. Dom O'Brien on the call. Columbiana goes to Latonia. Joe Eusebio and Hoppy on the call. Crestview goes to Champion. Larry Scragg and Alec Hancock's going to have the call for you in that one. East will go to Ursuline with Anthony Romo and Steve Leslie on the mic for that. Tim Figley will be on the call as East Palestine travels to the Wigwam to take on Southern. Fairport Harding will take on Ashtabula St. John's once for week 1 of 2 consecutive matchups as they match up in week 9 and 10 in a home and away stint, as this one will be at Ashtabula St. John. The 440 and Gold Boys will have that call. Girard will be at Struthers in a big matchup with big playoff implications on the line for the Wildcats. Girard trying to hold a top 4 spot. Alec Caberna on the call in that one. Howland will go to Campfield as Richie Giuliano will have the call. Jefferson goes to Poland in a battle of 5 and 3 teams in the NE8 with Anthony Malone on the mic. Mike McKenzie, voice of Beaver Local, will be behind the mic as Cleveland John Hay comes to town. 7-1 John Hay in that one. Lakeside will go to Orange as the school will cover that for us. DJ Yoakley on the call as Lakeview travels to South Range to take on the Raiders. Liberty takes on LeBray as they travel to the Vikings home with Brian Oatridge on the call. Lisbon travels to United with Chris Sigler on the mic. Lowville and Mineral Ridge will battle it out for the MVAC Scarlet Division Championship. Jake Silak will have the call from Mineral Ridge. Matthews travels to the Bombers hangar as they'll take on Wyndham. Matthews 7-1, their only defeat on the season to the Edison Wildcats. The school will have that call out in Wyndham. David Williams and Jamie Thompson, voices of the Hubbard Eagles, will be on the call as Niles comes to town as Red Dragons looking for a win. Hubbard looking to keep themselves in the playoffs. Notre Dame Cathedral Latin, NDCL takes on Louisville, battle of 2 and 6 teams looking to get into the playoffs as Bob Bjork will be on the call out in Leopard Country. Oak Glen, West Virginia will travel across the state line to take on East Liverpool and the Potters as Tommy Pease will be on the call for you in that one. Matt Mowry and Jared Niederheiser will be on the call, the Salem boys, but they will be traveling to enemy territory and Duke Country as they'll take on Marlington tonight in that matchup. Springfield will travel to Jackson Milton as Noah Ricks on the call in that one. 4-4 Springfield, 6-2 Jackson Milton in that contest. Valley Christian travels to Wellsville as Gary and Coy will be on the call. Matt Morrison and John on the call from Rain Stadium as Warren Harding will come into town to take on Cheney. Waterloo will take on McDonald as they will travel down to Youngstown to take on the Blue Devils. Ian O'Brien on the call. West Branch will battle Carrollton for the EBC championship tonight as Michael will be on the call for that one. And Western Reserve will battle it out with Sebring as Aaron Moser will be on the call for that. Going into tomorrow's slate of contest, Steubenville will be at Cardinal Mooney for football starting at 1 o'clock. I will be at that matchup. Struthers goes to Struthers versus Girard, girls soccer. Bob Zanny is marked yellow in that one, so potentially for tomorrow. Also at 11 a.m. tomorrow, Michael McKenzie on the call for Columbiana at Beaver Local Boys Soccer. So 29 football matchups tonight, 30 in total over the weekend, kind of like a Royal Rumble. Take your entrant, take your pick, as there's going to be 30 combined between tonight and tomorrow. Football matchups on the network. Again, completely free to you. Go to ysnlive.com/live to get the complete list of teams playing tonight. Again, games that are not going to be on the network tonight, but are still happening in the football world of YSN. Freedom Area will travel to Mohawk across the state lines, and our team in the Keystone State with Mohawk, as Edison will travel to Buckeye Local as the Wildcats looking to go 9-0 on the season, continuing their quest for an undefeated stint. Great night on the network tonight. 29 games are preloaded for you, ready to go, as we have the complete live list. Again, ysnlive.com/live to get you taken care of for that one. But that'll do it for this episode of Running Point, this Friday edition, getting you ready for week 9. Don't forget, folks, after Running Point, we have our other shows of the day on the network for YSN, as the Casual Sports Podcast coming up next from 2 to 3 with Alec Caberna, Matt Morrison, as well as they'll talk about some local matchups and you'll get their takes on it before the Power Hour Super Show from 3 to 4 with DJ Yoakley and his cast of characters that they always bring on week to week for that one, as they'll make their picks in the high school football realm this week. Should be an interesting show in that one. And they'll gear you up again 3 to 4 for that Power Hour. They'll gear you up for all the action that kicks off at 7 o'clock tonight with 29 games, as well as YSN's Audible Call with Mike Ackelson. Again, that'll be starting at 7 o'clock, followed by the Scoreboard show immediately after Audible Call. So if you don't have a game that you really have a dog in the fight, or one that you want to watch in particular, you want to jump around, get some touchdowns, and get the takes, you can get Mike Ackelson and the Audible Call on that one. 7 o'clock is the kickoff for our 29 matchups and the Audible Call tonight. This has been Running Point here on a Friday edition, week 9. Ty Bartel getting you geared up for it. And we thank our presenting sponsor for Running Point, Greenwood Chevrolet in